Hello, League members. I'm Diana Wynn, President of the League of Women Voters of the United States. It is my honor to speak to you today about the state of our great organization. When I spoke to the membership at our national convention last year, I noted that our nation faces existential threats to democracy. And I said that in order to meet these challenges, we must build a league that is bigger, bolder, and more powerful. The way that we do that is by continuing to diversify our membership, taking bold action in defense of democracy, and leveraging our grassroots power. Following the 2024 election, we now have a better picture of the challenges that we may face, and the need for a bigger, bolder, more powerful League of Women Voters remains true. I want to be very clear about what we're talking about here. Attacks on voting rights, attacks on our core work of assisting voters, and attacks on our rights over our own bodies. The escalating threats that we've seen over recent years are culminating in the erosion of democracy and a rise in authoritarianism. As an organization on the front lines in the fight for democracy, we see these attacks for what they are, a concerted effort to undermine the will and the power of the American people. But I continue to have hope, because this organization has faced these kinds of challenges before. 70 years ago, in 1955, our National League president, Percy Maxim Lee, testified before Congress. Speaking out against Senator Joseph McCarthy's abuse of powers, she said, "I believe tolerance and respect for the opinions of others is being jeopardized by men and women whose instincts are worthily patriotic, but whose minds are apparently unwilling to accept the necessity for dissent within a democracy." She went on to say, "Self-government is an arduous business. It demands infinite intelligence and patience and devotion." During the McCarthy era, the League stood up and spoke out against authoritarianism, and we will act with that same boldness in 2025, because last year showed us just how much we can accomplish together. The League of Women Voters continues to be a national leader in voter registration and voter education. In 2024, we made over 40 million voter contacts, providing voters with the information and motivation to make their voices heard. Our award-winning election information platform, vote411.org, saw a record 9.3 million visits in 2024. That was a 50% increase from 2020. Vote 411 covered more than 55,000 candidates in nearly 30,000 races last year. And for the first time, the site provided campaign finance information, which empowered voters to learn about the financial backers of federal candidates. And we're not only empowering voters with the information they need to make their voices heard, we're also protecting those voices in the courts. Last year, the League protected over 9 million voters through legal action in 53 lawsuits. And 2024 heard the League's voice ring loud in the halls of power. The League lobbied and advocated for the advancement of voting rights, fair and secure elections, women's rights, including reproductive rights and the Equal Rights Amendment, and for the abolishment of the Electoral College. In all, in 2024, League supporters sent over 111,000 messages to Congress and to the White House demanding action on these vital issues. Now, how's that for grassroots power? We also expanded our power by working in strategic coalitions, including the ERA Coalition to enshrine the Equal Rights Amendment into our Constitution, as well as the Declaration for American Democracy Coalition to advance federal voting rights protections, and the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights to fight for equality for all. No single organization working alone can preserve democracy. So working with others who also care deeply about democracy is essential to fulfilling our mission. It's important to reflect on our accomplishments because it can be easy to forget all that we've achieved when so many challenges lie ahead of us. Reminding ourselves of all that we've done together tells us what we're capable of and inspires us as we move forward. The League is a powerful force that can accomplish great things, but at this moment in time, that's also what makes us a target for adversaries to democracy. One area of attack against the League will, I'm sure, be very familiar to many of you: challenges to our nonpartisanship. And these challenges are unlikely to go away anytime soon. In fact, we expect these attacks to increase and intensify. But you see, there's one thing those who accuse us always discount. The League has been practicing political nonpartisanship for over a century. We are experts in nonpartisanship. Our accusers are party loyalists who have their own agendas, and they villainize those they disagree with. 105 years ago, our League founders enshrined nonpartisanship into our bylaws. This is our foundational principle. It's what the League was built on. Our founders knew that there was power in a nonpartisan perspective, even as a political organization, especially as a political organization. The issues we champion, voting rights, civil rights, human rights, these should be nonpartisan issues for everyone. They're about ensuring that democracy lives up to its promise to be by the people, for the people, all the people, and not a tool to be wielded against the people. The American public has trust in the League because we are not beholden to any political party or to any politician. Our commitment is to the ideal of a more perfect democracy. Let's be very clear. Those who accuse us of partisanship do so in an effort to silence us, but we will not be silenced. Not as suffragists at Seneca Falls in 1848, not in state assemblies fighting for the 19th Amendment in 1920, not when defending democracy in Congress in 1955, and not today. We lean on both the achievements of and the lessons from our past to fuel our activism going forward, and we lean on each other. Even as our fight may look different from state to state and community to community, the power of the League's grassroots activism is in our collective commitment to our shared mission. That means none of us are doing this work alone. So when we're faced with hostility, derision, and dismissiveness, like women have faced whenever we demand to be heard, we take strength from the fact that our vision for a better world is shared by so many others. Because when you joined the League of Women Voters, you joined a nationwide alliance of activists. The coming challenges will demand much of us, but I believe with all my heart that the League of Women Voters is capable and ready to meet those challenges. It will take courage to boldly defend our values of democracy and equality for all. It will take collective action to stand together as one League while also embracing the diversity of our voices. And it will take hope. The kind of hope that, in the words of author and feminist Rebecca Solnit, is not a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch feeling lucky. It's an axe you break down doors with in an emergency. I hope you will join me in embracing that kind of powerful hope. The American people are worth it. Our democracy is worth it. The state of our League is strong, it is resilient, and it is ready for what's ahead. Thank you for all that you do to empower voters and defend democracy.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Knox, President of the League of Women Voters of San Diego. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our first in-person annual meeting in 6 years. Now for the call to order. 7:01 p.m. and I will call the meeting to order. Dr. Bruce Bishop is our certified parliamentarian. And by the way, he's the author of Parliamentary Pizza, a very short and simple book that explains Robert's Rules of Order, in case anyone's interested. You can get that on parliamentaryprocedureinstitute.com. Our timer is Linda Frew. Where's Linda? She's going to get her phone out when we get to debate. And our secretary, Donna Bartlett-May, will be taking minutes. Now, Jane Andrews will present the credentials report.
Madam President, our league has 405 members, and a 5% quorum is required. We have 56 members present.
Excellent.
We're well over the quorum. Do you want me to stay
Thank
there?
you so much.
Do you want me to sit down?
You're up next.
Okay. So I'm going to make two motions. One is I move to adopt the proposed order of business on page 1 of the annual meeting packet.
Is there a second? Thank you.
What? Sorry, I'll say it again. I move to adopt the proposed order of business on page 1 of the annual meeting packet.
Debbie has seconded. Is there any discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted.
So my second motion is I move to adopt the proposed rules of order on page 2 of the annual meeting packet.
Marcus seconds. Is there any discussion? While you're thinking about it, I'm just going to review a few of the most important rules. Only members may vote. Each speaker shall use the microphone provided and limit remarks to the question. No one shall speak twice to a question until all who wish to speak have had an opportunity. Only members and others recognized by the chair shall have the privilege of the floor. During formal debate, each person shall be limited to 3 minutes unless the time is extended by a 2/3 vote of the members in attendance. So, resolutions must be presented to the secretary in writing. Donna's right here up front if you need to submit something. Okay, so any discussion on this? The question is on the adoption of the proposed rules of order. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted. Donna, do we have the committee for the minutes? So Donna has requested 3 people who would be willing to review the minutes that she writes and approve them so that we can get them onto the record before our next annual meeting. Will you raise your hand if you're willing to do that?
Linda, Debbie. Right here.
Donna, do you mind coming up to make the motion?
All right, I move to appoint members Ashley, Debbie. Thank you, Beryl. I move to appoint members Debbie, Linda, and Ashley to the committee to approve today's minutes.
I'll second that.
Quick, I gotta write this down. It was me.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted. Okay. Now we will recognize two members who have been with us for 50 years. Mary Hanson, will you please come to the front? In recognition of 50 years of League membership, Mary Hanson is presented with this certificate of recognition, and she no longer has to pay dues. Thank you, Mary.
I actually received one of these in the mail from the LWVUS, and I was very touched, so.
Very
Thank
nice.
you, okay.
You're welcome. We have another member who's not with us tonight, and that is Joan Gass, is also a 50-year member. The League of Women Voters of San Diego has had over 100 new members in the last year. And yes, we would like to recognize those who are here. So would you please stand when I say your name? Lindsay Abbott. Hi. Ildiko Antal. Jennifer Casamina. No. Lance Chang. Carrie DeRosier. Kate Krabenschmidt. Not here. Kay Mazurek. Barbara Perry. Carol Spartz. Ellen Carr. Gina Giancero. Okay, now for the President's Report. I'd like to start by acknowledging our scholarship recipients. The Ann Clark Scholarship this year was awarded in the amount of $1,000 to Madeline Reyes, who studies political science and women's studies at SDSU. She will participate in the DC Scholars Program, a summer semester internship course that offers students the chance to gain firsthand experience in the political and governmental landscape of Washington, D.C. The other recipient, Ashley Beard, will start at UCLA this fall to study political science, women's studies, and public administration. After graduating, she plans to attend law school. I'm so proud of the amazing work done by our league in the 2024 elections. As you can see, we registered over 1,700 voters, gave 58 ballot talks, held 11 candidate forums, and 62 tabling events. 110 volunteers generously gave 1,386 hours to this important work. In addition, our video of the ballot talk was watched 3,600 times. Under the leadership of Voter Empowerment Director Jane Andrews, we organized 11 well-attended candidate forums. They drew over 1,100 in-person attendees and 7,200 online views, empowering voters to make confident, informed choices. We distributed 5,000 copies of the Easy Voter Guide, which explains state ballot propositions in simple language, and a special insert on San Diego County and City ballot measures. In partnership with local community organizations, we reached a diverse audience by distributing 500 copies in Spanish and 250 copies each in Korean, Vietnamese, and Chinese. We also published the LWVC pros and cons on our website in both English and Spanish for voters seeking a deeper understanding of state propositions. We also distributed thousands of business cards listing our website, the online voter guide Vote 411, and a QR code scanned hundreds of times, connecting voters directly to accurate, nonpartisan election information. In November, we held a special election volunteer appreciation event to thank the incredible volunteers who powered our election work. It was a festive afternoon of food, drinks, and shared celebration, and a chance to recognize the heart of our league, our members. All of our public events since July were held in person for the first time since the pandemic. For Women's Equality Day, we participated in the screening of the documentary film Fannie Lou Hamer's America, hosted by the Women's Museum of California. North County League President Marianne Vega Clancy and I introduced the film and discussed the fact that many Americans weren't allowed to vote until long after the 19th Amendment was passed. Our Dinner and Democracy event drew a crowd of 87, which is the largest attendance we've had since 2020. The president's mass deportation agenda was the focus of our March meeting. In April, we gathered members for a preview of the new talk developed by our Speakers Bureau entitled Democracy in America, the Impact of Executive Power. And in May, we heard a presentation from leadership of the San Diego Unified School District. On April 5th, members from both San Diego County leagues marched together in the downtown Hands Off protest, standing united in defense of democracy and civil rights. Our Defending Democracy group meets monthly via Zoom to stay informed on national developments and to coordinate actions in response. All of this, from registering voters to marching in protest, is part of a larger mission. At a time when democracy is under attack, the League of Women Voters is answering the call. We are on the front lines because democracy only survives when people are willing to fight for it. We're pushing back against efforts like the SAVE Act, a dangerous federal bill based on lies about voter fraud. It would make it nearly impossible for millions of eligible voters to register, especially married women, service members, rural voters, and communities of color. In California, we're fighting attacks on vote by mail, resisting voter ID laws, and defending the Voters' Choice Act. At the same time, we're supporting solutions like SB 42, the California Fair Elections Act, which would end the ban on public campaign financing, give everyday voters more power, and help candidates from all backgrounds compete, not just the wealthy and well-connected. We're also working to block a dangerous constitutional convention and stepping in when voters' rights are threatened in court, like when a federal lawsuit tried to stop California from counting mail-in ballots received after Election Day. Our democracy is under attack from multiple directions, but the League is all in, rising to meet the challenge. Next month marks the end of my 6-year tenure on the LWV San Diego Board of Directors, but my League journey isn't ending. I will continue on the advocacy team and will assist with technology support. And I'll remain active on the League of Women Voters of California's Legislation Committee. And I'm honored to share that I've been nominated to serve as a director on the State League Board, beginning a 2-year term in July. Thank you. Now, Mark Hagay will present our treasurer's report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So, bottom line, I have great news. The League, San Diego League, is in a very solid financial position. Part of that is because of bequests that have been given to the League in years past. And so it's important to remember the League as you do your estate planning. The board also has established reserves policies, which is followed to ensure adequate liquidity. For this year, donation income surpassed, I'm just giving the highlights, the budgeted amount primarily due to the recovery of over $22,000 in a bequest from the Josiah and Abby Sand Trust. Interest and dividend income is significant with the investment of the bequests received in previous years. An investment policy was approved by the board at its May 21st regular meeting last week. And with the current rate of expenditure under 49% of what was budgeted, the San Diego League is on course to finish the fiscal year with a surplus instead of a deficit. I think the next one is So if everybody had a chance to look at their packet, inside the packet was the statement of financial position as of March 31st, when we had to put together the packet. Of course, the year-end, June 30th, will be presented in the next fiscal year. I don't know if anybody had any questions. I can take any questions, should there be any. And seeing none, I was happy to provide my services for this year and hopefully work to get us in a really good place. So.
Thank you for that report and for all your hard work this year. We appreciate it. Julianne C. was the chair of our budget committee this year, and she's going to present on that.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of the Budget Committee, which consisted of Janelle Trotter and our secretary, Donna Bartlett-May, our wonderful treasurer, Marka Gay, and Kim Knox. And I'm very indebted to the hard work and the good feedback as we surveyed all of the chairs of various activities and got the best projections that we could in terms of what our expenses would and income would need to be in the coming fiscal year, which begins July 30th, 2025, and it goes to June 30th, 2026. You'll notice in this budget there are a few things that jump out, so I just wanted to address those. The first is that the third line down, we've got income from dues at about $4,500. The expenses for dues, also the third line down, is almost $20,000. What the heck happened here? And what happened is, in the past, the system of paying dues has been the membership has paid their dues to the local league, and then the local league 1 to 2 years later gets an assessment of what the state and the federal leagues are due from the dues. And so that system has changed. We are now receiving only our portion of the dues, and the state and federal leagues take out their portions before it comes to us, but we're still on the hook for those assessments for past dues. So that's why there's this disparity. And you will also notice down here on the profit or loss, this amount at the bottom in red, about $20,000, is about what the assessment is. So it's basically a balanced budget except for that little hiccup. Another change from previous years is, let's see, under administrative, professional fees, employee lease, $0. And what that is in the current year and the past year, we had a paid position, an on-staff executive assistant, and that person was leased to us through the state league, and that arrangement is no longer available to us. So that's why that went to $0. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention is that, so the way that election years and non-election years work, this coming year we will have a California gubernatorial primary election in June, but there's nothing happening in November. So that's why you'll notice under income, these community services, a lot of these are for programs. Sometimes there's an association will give us a fee or assist with a shared candidate forum. So those will be very small because it's only a primary election that's happening there. And actually all of these items should be shifted over because this is totaled here. But the math all works. But those little sub line items are not part of the total. They're already total. Okay, so another thing that happens in a not very busy year election-wise is there's a national convention instead of a state convention. So you'll see the expenditures for convention registration fees. Up here is north of 5,000, and then also travel down here at the very bottom is significant at about $6,500. So as opposed to this year where there's just number one, it's a state conference, and number two, it's virtual. So those are significant differences in expenditures. The final thing I wanted to touch on is we have the board decided that they're not going to have a fundraising event in the coming year, which in part is thanks to a more aggressive investments and putting the money to work that people have entrusted to the organization. And we're very grateful for that generosity. And thank you very much. All right, so on behalf of the Budget Committee and also the board who has approved this budget, I move to adopt the 2025-2026 budget as printed in the annual meeting packet. And there's a second.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted. Denise Vetter from our nominating committee is going to present our slate.
Great. Thank you, Kim. The following members are nominated to serve a 2-year term on the League of Women Voters San Diego Board of Directors from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2027. I had to double check that. President nominated is Jane Andrews. Vice President, Ashley Rodriguez. Treasurer, Sarah O'Leary. Directors are George Buchanan, Mary Hanson, Lori Thiel, and Denise Vetter.
Thank you. Are there any nominations from the floor?
Take each position one at a time. So first the president, and then
Okay. Any nominations from the floor
for president.
for president? It's a big job. Okay, so the question is on the election of the president of Jane Andrews for 2025 to 2027. All in favor? Yeah? Say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Typically, you don't vote yes or no. It's just you or the nomination chair casts one ballot for that person because it's unopposed, and that makes them elected.
So what do we say?
Does anybody mind?
Yes, please do.
Aye.
Please come up to the microphone.
She may want to make a motion to vote to elect by acclamation, but it's not necessary when it's unopposed. So we'll see.
I was just hoping we would have, as you mentioned people's names, they could stand up so everyone would see who they are.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Will you please stand, Jane Andrews?
So since there's only one nominee, that means the election is unopposed. So typically, what will happen is either a member will make a motion to elect by acclamation, and then you vote on that. But more easily than that, more typically, the chair of the nominating committee will, on behalf of the membership, cast one vote for the unopposed candidate. Because if a person's unopposed, they only need one vote to be elected. Right? And so that's the easiest way to do it, since there are no other candidates. Chair of the nominating committee casts one vote for Jane Andrews for president, and then you will declare Jane Andrews elected by a supermajority of 1.
We have a question. Oh, can we vote on it as a slate?
Can you do it on the slate?
If we go through each one and they're unopposed, then can we do it as a slate?
It's not as much fun, but
Ashley has requested that we do it as a slate, so we will go ahead and do that. So do I?
you still have to ask if there's any nominations from the floor for vice president, and then treasurer, and then director.
Okay. Are there any nominations from the floor for vice president?
Nominations for can we see this person, Ashley Rodriguez?
Yes. Ashley Rodriguez is the nominee on the slate. Thank you for reminding me. Sarah O'Leary is nominated for treasurer. Will you stand, Sarah? There she is. Are there any nominations from the floor for treasurer? Hearing none. The nominees for director. George Buchanan, will you please stand? And Mary Hansen. Lori Thiel is out of town this evening, and Denise Vedder is right here. So, are there any nominations from the floor for director? Hearing none, I believe I will now ask Denise to cast a vote for each of those people.
I vote for the slate of officers. There we go.
And with a supermajority of 1, they are elected.
The following members are nominated for a one-year term on the nominating committee beginning July 1st, 2025. Miles Pomeroy as chair, Dana Freehoff, and Kathleen Grove.
Kathleen, will you stand? Sure. The others are not here. Are there any nominations from the floor? For chair or for nominating committee? Seeing none. Denise, who do you vote for?
Is it the same? I vote for the slate as nominated.
Thank you. They are nominated, or they are elected by a supermajority of 1.
Right.
Thank you, Denise. Wendy's next up.
On behalf of the Board of Directors, I move, we're talking about our program positions of emphasis for the next 2 years.
Actually, this is all of our positions that we've had for, most of them for many years, so we're just going to retain them and keep using them.
Okay, thank you. So on behalf of the Board of Directors of LWV San Diego, I move to retain all local positions. Oh, that's right, because then we go to the other ones.
Yes. Okay, that motion came from the board, so a second is not needed. Is there any debate or discussion on this topic? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted.
Now, part 2. Our recommended areas for emphasis for 2025 to 2027 are expanded voter outreach, election reform, campaign finance dashboard, and this used to be a 1-year program emphasis, but it's actually been extended to 2 years. That's what the League for California has done, and we're following their guide. We hosted our program planning meeting online on Zoom on April 7th of 2025. The links to the submissions and the recording were included in the annual meeting packet, so if you weren't able to attend, you could have viewed that. The board discussed all submissions and recommends adoption of 3 issues for emphasis, and we will vote on each of them separately. On behalf of the League of Women Voters San Diego Board of Directors, I move to adopt expanded voter outreach as an issue for emphasis for 2025 to 2027.
Thank you, Wendy. No second is needed as that motion came from the board. Is there any discussion? Jane Andrews, please come up.
It just could be that not everybody read the whole board packet. So it could be that not everybody read the whole board packet. I think it really would be helpful if you could go through that little summary, because I think it's important for people to be aware of. Thank you.
So in terms of expanded voter outreach, it's both education and engagement by increasing our reach into the community for speaker talks on ballot measures, American democracy, etc. And actually, Democracy in Action, what's the title, Gina?
It's called Understanding and Responding to Challenges.
To democracy. Understanding and responding to challenges in democracy. So the Speakers Bureau has actually been busy with this, and this has been presented like 4 times now, once to our group and once to 3 other organizations. The strategic goal of League of Women Voters San Diego is to expand its reputation as the leading nonpartisan source of reliable, fact-based voter information in the region. Many people, as well as League of Women Voters US, are concerned about the erosion of American democracy under the current administration, and our community deserves to be informed of the issues that are causing these concerns.
Thank you, Wendy. Any debates or discussion on that? Okay, the question is on the adoption of expanded voter outreach as an issue for emphasis for 2025 to 2027. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted.
Thank you. Motion, the area of emphasis number 2 is I move to adopt election reform as an issue for emphasis in 2025 to 2027. Would you like the longer explanation of that? Okay. Surprise! Work with organizations that support election reforms like campaign finance reform, proportional representation, and ranked choice voting are included in this. Election reform is a vital issue in today's political climate, so it is essential that we work toward expanding the electorate and ensuring that every voice is heard. Work on legislation and ballot measures designed to make our electoral system more accessible, fair, and representative for all citizens.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, the question is on the adoption of election reform as an issue for emphasis for 2025 to 2027. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted.
And last but not least, on behalf of the League of Women Voters San Diego Board of Directors, I move to adopt Campaign Finance Dashboard as an issue for emphasis for 2025-2027. I'm not going to ask this time. What this dashboard would do, it would be, we would publish who is funding local campaigns and the independent expenditure committees, known as PACs probably, that are active in the campaigns. If needed, we would ask cities to make the data readily available. Some only post PDFs, which makes it difficult to import data. Why it's needed to provide more transparency in what's happening in terms of funding of campaigns. Voters have the right to know who is contributing money for which political candidates, how much money they are raising, and how that money is being spent.
Thank you, Wendy. Any questions or discussion on that? I saw a lot of nodding. Okay, the question is on the adoption of campaign finance dashboard as an issue for emphasis for 2025 to 2027. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion is adopted. Donna is up next. Thanks again, Wendy.
Well, it was my pleasure this year to be chairperson of the Bylaws Committee. And the committee was Kim and Link, Mary Hanson, and Stephanie Sontag. If you've looked at the chart that was in your packet, almost all of these changes are due to our being a 501c3 and using the state league's model bylaws. The other change is, of course, the LWVUS structural transition regarding how dues are now paid. So some of these are also to comply with that. The parliamentarian has suggested that in a way to do this is if we don't anticipate any of these amendments to be controversial and you don't want any of them discussed individually, we can treat this as an omnibus and vote on all of them at once. Does anybody wish to discuss? Penny?
I'd like to bring up a motion to add an amendment.
Penny wants to make a motion to add an amendment.
Okay, so why don't you make the motion?
Okay, let me make the motion first. On behalf of the LWVSD board, I move to amend the bylaws as printed in the annual meeting packet.
Can we do this as a consent agenda instead? So ask if there's any one particular amendment they want to pull out, and then this member would have the opportunity to amend just that, and we can pass the others that are not contested.
Is this an amendment you want to, that's already on here or something else? No, she's changing something else.
Right.
So can we vote on this first?
No, because she wants to make it.
Yeah, so can I help?
Yes.
Yes, please.
All right. So how many total amendments are there? How many different? You're going to treat them all separately? 5 or 6?
More than that.
No, I think
19.
19.
Okay, so there's 19 amendments. As was suggested a moment ago, me looking at them as an outsider, they appear not controversial or complex. And as was just described, most of them could be interpreted or suggested as housekeeping kind of issues. And so because of that, we can treat it as a consent calendar and say, as a package, is there any one particular bylaw amendment that you would like to discuss individually that we will remove from the packet? And this member here suggests that there is one.
She's adding.
You want to add an amendment? I'm sorry?
It doesn't need a second.
Because you can't add an amendment unless it's previously
Yes.
announced
Yes.
and published to the membership a certain number of days. You can't add an amendment to the package. What you can do is amend one of the proposed amendments. Okay, so which one specifically? Can you identify which one?
She needs to come up to the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. We want you to come up to the microphone and identify it.
This, we have to use this microphone too.
This one too? Okay. I want to add, I'm dealing with the board of directors. I don't know how many of you know the history, but in the past we've had a much larger board of directors, and it also was composed of chairs of committees. And we felt that was very important because the chairs of committees are experts in their areas, whether they be immigration, education, and other areas.
Okay, so you can't speak to the motion yet until it's made.
Oh, sorry.
So tell me specifically
Okay.
which bylaw, which number bylaw are
Okay,
you
I'm
concerned
talking
with?
about section 2, and it says,
Now, which number on the left column?
5?
5, okay. So that's all you have to say. is
Okay.
You want to talk about bylaw number 5.
Correct.
All right. So are there any other bylaws of these numbered here that anybody wants to pull for separate discussion? So the other 18 we're good with. So let's we have a motion for those 18. They don't require a second, so let's just vote on those 18, and then we'll take yours separately.
Okay.
The question is on the adoption of amendments number 1 through 4 and 6 through 19. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted.
Now,
So
What
now
is
you,
your proposed change to number 5?
All right.
Before you talk about why, how would you like it changed?
and
Okay.
we do have a requirement that all motions must be submitted in writing to the secretary. So it would be helpful if we could,
Oh,
I
well.
could read it once it's written down.
Well, I'd have to write it down. It's pretty simple. It says, up to 3 additional directors may be appointed by the elected board members as deemed necessary to carry out the work. I'm saying that up to 3 additional board members who would be by choice committee members, the committee chairs.
Okay, that was not a suggested amendment. That's simply the sentence that comes after the suggested amendment. The suggestions were in green. So you're making a completely new bylaw amendment suggestion, which the bylaws require that such things be submitted many more, 60 or 90 years, a lot of days before the meeting.
Okay, I guess it's unfortunate, because I do think it's very important. And then there's no other way to insert that then, that the committee chairs be. Oh,
So as the chair president just suggested, that's not an amendment to the proposed amendment. So an amendment to the proposed amendment would speak specifically to the language that we want to change. You want to change other section of that particular language in that particular section of the bylaws. And that's a new amendment to the bylaws that needs to be treated as a new amendment to the bylaws.
well, I'm just adding, instead of saying 3 additional directors, that the 3 additional directors
understand.
be chairs of the committees.
And I understand why that seems frustrating to you, but it's your rules. And it's
Not my rules, okay.
well, it's your rules in the universal sense, and we just have to follow those. Otherwise, your amendment would be invalidated by the courts.
if it were to go that far, which it wouldn't. I have to follow the rules too.
Okay,
So,
thank you, Penny.
okay, so all we can do is bring it to the board come when they next meet.
Yes, you
Okay.
can bring it to the bylaws committee next year, and the deadline for that, I believe, is 60 days before the annual meeting.
No, I don't want to
And
wait that long. I
It's
want it
important for the
now.
bylaws committee to have a chance to review all suggestions and see how they fit in. We also have to get them approved by the League of Women Voters of California.
But if this
So that's why we
board,
don't do things on the fly.
okay, but this board could make that modification as a board.
No.
Or they could simply run for the board, put their name before the nominating committee.
Yeah, but that'd be a year. I'm talking about now, not in a year.
They could have done it this year.
Yeah. Okay.
So, does she need to make the motion? Okay, any other questions on number 5?
So do I need to make another motion just on 5? Okay. Then I move on behalf of the LWVSD Board to amend the bylaw number 5 as printed in the annual meeting packet.
And since that comes from the board, no second is needed. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The motion is adopted. Thank you, Donna. Have we received any resolutions? No. Okay. I would like to thank Donna Bartlett-May, Mark Agay, Wendy Young, who is our events coordinator, Linda Frew, Jane Andrews, Julianne C., and Denise Fetter, Chris Schaefer for doing our video, and Dr. Bruce Bishop. With no further business, the meeting is adjourned, but don't go yet. President-elect Jane Andrews would like to say a few words. And I'd like to get a photo with all of the newly elected board members after this.
Don't go away, Kim. Just stand right there. All right, thank you. And let me just get my notes out. Okay, and thank you to the League for your confidence in me. It is a great honor to become the president of this vibrant group. All of us League members stand on the shoulders of all of you who have led and shaped this League into what it is today. But Kim, your work as president is a really tough act to follow. Not only did you organize our tech capacity, which was a critical improvement for our League, you also gave us a strategic plan which will continue to guide us. And the extent of your reach in both our election work as well as our advocacy has been extraordinary. You often work quietly and without recognition. You were resilient in the last-minute crises. You collaborated with so many individuals and groups on behalf of our DEI focus. You gave careful testimony at important local meetings on our behalf. But most of all, it has been your endless patience, answering our questions and guiding us through all the intricacies of tech and Zoom, as well as League positions and practices and rules. So we are in debt to your many, many competencies. Although you will be leaving our board, I in particular am relieved that you will stay on to guide our tech needs. I do want to recognize our pride that you will be joining the board of the California State League. And I also want to honor all your ongoing work with the ACLU, which is so important, especially now. I know that all of us here feel immense gratitude for your devotion and commitment to the League and its cause. And we do have a couple of gifts for you to express our gratitude. We hope they will contribute to your fun and pleasure as you relax a bit after all this. So this is from us.
Thank you so much. Jane knows I've always been impressed by her thank you writing capabilities. I got to get one myself. So thank you, Jane. That was very touching. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, now I would like to
Wait,
ask...
I have a few more things
Okay.
to say. Not just, you can...
Don't let me forget the photo, though.
Oh yeah, no, we won't. You can open your present and then we'll have photo. Okay. So with all of you present in person, I thought this is just a golden moment to say a few words. It really is thrilling to see all your faces in person. So I'd like to briefly speak to all of you about some of my thoughts as our League moves forward into its new year in this context of political change, chaos, and the corrupting role of money in politics. There is a Chinese saying that a crisis is also an opportunity for learning and eventual growth. In my years as a therapist, I witnessed this often. For the citizens and voters of the United States, this is a time of shock, questioning, and self-reflection. People are losing rights and resources that they came to take for granted. The First Amendment right to freedom of speech and the Fifth Amendment right to due process are at risk. Some people think the president should have greater power than in the past. You know the rest. In this context, the League of Women Voters is a respected, level-headed, nonpartisan voice for discipline and enforcement of rules, as you have just seen, actually, just as we enforce our own rules in our forums and events. I believe that our balanced and thoughtful voice and our truthfulness are more important now than ever. This year, a group of our new LSLV League members in our Speakers Bureau created our new Challenges to Democracy talk, which is a great example of League balance and truthfulness. I want to recognize Gina Gianzero, Ellen Carr, C. Smilet, Katie Alexander, who isn't here, Jean Widener, who isn't here, and Sheila Toll, who isn't here, for their work on this talk. We will be giving it to an expanding range of groups and communities as we move into our voter outreach issue for emphasis. So would you three stand up? We got Gina, Ellen, Cease. The work of this league has got to be done as a team. We need you to participate. It is fine to pay dues, donate, and read our newsletter and information, but you will get more if you show up and help out. We need people to help with our communications work so we can reach more and differing groups. Tell your friends, your yoga class, and your social groups about the work of the league. We will continue our voter outreach with both our Speakers Bureau and voter registration and tabling. Join us. We will support you in becoming a speaker or a tabler. We need help with welcoming new members, putting together our emails, and many small tasks. Help us out. Our new dashboard of transparency on campaign spending will be doing research and building a platform this year. Help us work on it. You can also join one of our many monthly interest groups meetings with their talented and knowledgeable leaders, and just be a learner. Have a close look at our website for details, or I do have a clipboard in the traditional league style, and Wendy Young has one too. So please come up and check your name, write your name down and check off what might interest you, and then we'll follow up with you. And I do want to acknowledge we have so many nice new faces here, so come join us. Also, we do have, this is maybe, I'm taking Kim's words, but we do have on the tables index cards, and we really welcome your thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and the like. We need your input. Fill one out and we'll follow up on it. One of our goals is to connect more with younger voters. We have had the very good luck of having a rising San Diego State senior who is majoring in communications and women's studies asked to volunteer with us and help us connect with younger people. So I'd like to introduce Sky Pushkar. Would you please stand? This was really just sort of one of those moments of coincidence that an email came in and it was just what we had in mind. So finally, I'm going to end. As we continue in the footsteps of our suffragette forebears, we will be having a League of Women Voters night in late September at the musical Suffs, a 2 Tony Award-winning musical about the suffragettes. It's going to be fun. They've had this in New York. When they had it in New York, they had a League night, and some of us went, and it's our work just follows straight from theirs. So I'm going to end with a few of my favorite lyrics from their rousing finale, which is entitled, Keep On Marching. You won't live to see the future that you fight for. Maybe no one gets to reach that perfect day. If the work is never over, then how do you keep marching anyway? Do you carry your banner as far as you can, rewriting the world with your imperfect pen, till the next stubborn girl picks it up in a picket line, over and over again? And you join in the chorus of centuries, chanting to her, the path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. The future demands that we fight for it now. It will only be ours if we keep marching on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you for the generous gift as well. I'd like to invite all of the people who are going to be serving on the board next year to come up and we'll take a photo. You'll be in our next newsletter.
Are we missing anyone? I don't think we are.
Yeah. Sure.
Where's Wendy?
George's and Malcolm is
But we need Wendy.
Wendy, we need you.
Wendy.
Young.
You're being summoned. I was recruiting a helper. It's important work. Yeah. Well, she was already recruited, but I was talking about some details with her. Okay.
Okay, smile. Got it.
Thank you.
Again, thank you all for coming. Please feel free to introduce yourselves to our new board members. And again, you've got those index cards if you have any suggestions for us. Have a good night.